So every now and again, with your permission, I am going to share with you some of the kind of stuff that works for me, and it might be a bit of poetry, or it might be a bit of reading, or it might be, you know, something. But today I'm going to read you a little bit of Big Magic, and in particular 2 passages that I think are really interesting and really good. So the first is about how scary it is to produce our own work and put it out into the world. You know, how you know, even when we talk a good talk to ourselves, how much courage it takes for us to put, you know, to actually bring our ideas, our creative ideas out into the world. And, you know, all the things that our inner critic and our fear says to us, and the things that we're afraid of, which is an endless list. And just for the fun of it, she lists this list of all the things that we're scared of. So it's called Scary, Scary, Scary. Let's talk about courage now. If you already have the courage to bring forth the jewels that are hidden within you, terrific. You're probably already doing really interesting things with your life, and you don't need this book. Rock on. But if you don't have the courage, let's try to get you some. Because creative living is a path for the brave. We all know this. We all know that when courage dies, creativity dies with it. We all know that fear is a desolate boneyard where our dreams go to desiccate in the hot sun. This is a common knowledge. Sometimes we just don't know what to do about it. Let me list for you some of the many ways in which you might be afraid to live a more creative life. Okay, here we go. You're afraid you have no talent. You're afraid you'll be rejected or criticized or ridiculed or misunderstood, or worst of all, ignored. You're afraid there's no market for your creativity and therefore no point in pursuing it. You're afraid somebody else already did it better. You're afraid everybody else already did it better. You're afraid somebody will steal your ideas, so it's safer to keep them hidden forever in the dark. You're afraid you won't be taken seriously. You're afraid your work isn't politically, emotionally, or artistically important enough to change anyone's life. You're afraid your dreams are embarrassing. You're afraid that someday you'll have to look back on your creative endeavours as having been a giant waste of time, effort, and money. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of discipline. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of work, space, or financial freedom, or empty hours in which to focus on invention and exploration. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of training or degree. You're afraid you're too fat. I don't know what this has to do with creativity exactly, but experience has taught me that most of us are afraid we're too fat. So we'll just put that into the anxiety list for good measure. You're afraid of being exposed as a hack, for a fool, a dilettante, or a narcissist. You're afraid of upsetting your family with what you may reveal. You're afraid of what your peers and co-workers will say if you express your personal truth aloud. You're afraid of unleashing your innermost demons, and you really don't want to encounter your innermost demons. You're afraid your best work is behind you. You're afraid you've never had any best work to begin with. You're afraid you're too old to start. You're afraid you're too young to start. You're afraid because something went well in your life once, obviously nothing will ever go well again. You're afraid because nothing has ever gone well in your life, so why bother trying now? You're afraid of being a one-hit wonder. You're afraid of being a no-hit wonder. Listen, I don't have all day here, so I'm not going to keep listing fears. It's a bottomless list. Anyhow, and a depressing one. I'll just wrap up my summary this way. Scary, 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 scary. Everything is just so damn scary. So that was Elizabeth Gilbert from Big Magic, and if you haven't read it, I don't know what's keeping you. If you go and get it, I'll put a link up in the bottom of this. So for those of you who are joining this group, whether you have just started painting, whether you've started painting after a 10-year gap, you know, like Kirsty and many others, whether you are just beginning to put your toe in the water of seeing whether people would buy your work, or whether you are trying to make a living and trying to build integrity as an artist working in the world, wherever you are along that, all of those things still apply. Isn't that funny? You know, we are full of fear. We are full of scary, scary, scary. It's the same for all of us. And for us creatives who are drawing our creativity out of the dark and into the light, it is scary, scary, scary. So a group like this can be really good because you're in good company and other people feel the same fear.